Hi friends, Mindy here. Today I'm going to be setting up my journal to work through Witness to the Wonder from Bythewell4God. I decided I want to kind of go with this sort of junk journal look. I flipped through an old traveler's notebook there so you could kind of see. But I'm going to actually be doing this in a disc-bound system and not working in a traveler's notebook. It's a 24-day devotional, so I felt like I just needed a little bit more space. I'm afraid it's going to get pretty chunky, so I am going to be creating in a disc-bound system. So the first thing I'm doing is getting my paper. I'm using Strathmore Bristol Vellum paper. It just has a really nice smooth finish to it, and it's a sturdy paper, and so I like to use this a lot when I'm creating journals. So I'm cutting these pages down to be 6 by 7. It's going to be a little bit bigger than some of the other journals that I've done, but again, I'm going to be using only the one side because, again, it's a 24-day devotional, so I want to make sure that I can get everything I need to on one side. So I have trimmed those down to 6 by 7, and now I'm using my Happy Planner punch here to punch the holes for the discs in all of my papers. I just kind of line them up where they need to be. And then I also have these really kind of ginormous tags, and I would like to include them as well, but they are sticking up just a little bit too tall. I don't mind them sticking up a little bit, and I actually like that look, but these were just a little bit too much. So I'm just kind of marking on here to kind of get an idea for how much I want to trim off. And in the end, it's about a half an inch that I'm trimming off of the bottom here of each of these tags. And that way it'll still stick out a little bit, but it just won't be quite so far. And then I'll go ahead and punch the holes in these tags as well, just kind of getting an idea for how I want them to line up, and then punching those. And then I also have a We Are Memory Keepers punch that actually punches those same holes. So I'll be using that kind of interchangeably because the Happy Planner punch really can't do some thicker things, and so that other punch just comes in really handy. So at this point, I have this envelope out of craft cardstock that I had made to go with a different project, and it's a little bit too tall. It's actually even taller than my tags are. I just really kind of wanted to use it, and so I'm trying to decide how to get this in here, and it's too thick actually to go in my my Happy Planner punch. So I am going to use one of the pages that I have already punched just to kind of line everything up. And then I will actually use that handheld punch to punch the holes. So I'm just starting off getting it lined up where I want it to be. And then I will use the open side of this punch just to line it up. You can kind of look in there and see where you're punching this way. And then once I have that set up, then I can just use that guide that's on the left side of this punch and just work my way down and punch all of the holes that I need to do. Again, I wouldn't be able to do this in my actual Happy Planner punch because the paper is just too thick. So this is what this envelope will look like. In the end, I end up creating some different envelopes and not using that one at all. But at this point, I thought I might use it, even though it stuck up a little bit too far. So I'm pulling out my discs. I'm using some Happy Planner discs in black. These are about 1.25 inches, I think. I may need to go up a size by the end of this. We'll have to see. It just depends on how chunky it gets. So I'm just adding all of my pages in here. One trick is if you put a page like on the left and on the right, it kind of holds the rings so that they're standing up, and it just makes adding the pages easier. And then I'm going to add in just randomly my tags, and these might get moved around. This is really just, I'm just kind of setting it up just so that I have all the pieces. Because it's a junk journal, I want to be able to add things as I need to, and journaling spots and different kinds of things. And so, but I'm just doing some of the prep work ahead of time, like doing this glassine envelope here as well. And the reason is because when you have like a 24-day project like this is going to be, this devotional is 24 days this month, and it's Christmas time and just a busy time of year. So anything that I can have kind of done ahead of time, it just makes this process easier. So I'm just trying to think of some things that I normally like to see, in my junk journal, which is just different envelopes and tuck spots and different textures and different things. And so I'm going to be adding a few of those. So I had that glassine envelope, and now I'm using this one is actually vellum, and I had to trim it down just a little bit. The edge was a little bit messed up, so I just kind of trimmed down. And then I'm using a circle punch just to create a notch. I just kind of went halfway down on there, and I'm trying to decide if I want to do this vertically or horizontally. The problem was with the height of this. It just really was not going to get punched very well if I did this. I was kind of going to end up being right on the edge, which I could have trimmed it shorter, but I really wanted kind of the longer envelope. So I'm just going back and forth trying to decide before I commit to punching anything. You can see me kind of moving it back and forth. And in the end, I decide I'm just going to put it horizontally. So just trying to get it into my Happy Planner punch, and it doesn't fit. So I'm just going to line this up with this envelope. I end up using this a lot as kind of a template to get my holes where I want them. And then once you get like the one hole kind of placed, then you just go from there and you can punch the other holes. That handheld punch is really, really helpful, and it punches really well, especially through thicker things. So now that I have those done, I want to focus on creating my covers. And so I'm going through the paper pad and picking out a couple of pages that I want to use. And I decided on this paper that has the little birdhouses on the front. I just think it's so cute. And so I'm trimming it down just on the top because the paper is 6x8. So I'm just trimming off an inch on the top of these pages. And then I'm going to actually laminate these. And then I have a laminator. You don't necessarily have to laminate them. I just like to do that. The paper is pretty thick. It would probably be fine if you didn't. You can also use, I've in the past have used like packing tape just to kind of reinforce, but I happen to have a laminator, so I went ahead and did that. I make a lot of journals, so I'm just trimming these down now, and you want to be careful when you're trimming anything that you've laminated. You don't want to trim right up next to the paper because it won't be like sealed down properly. So you just kind of have to watch that. But so my pages are going to have a little bit of a clear border around them. My covers are. And so I won't be able to line them up exactly perfectly with my pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm pulling out a page from my book here, and I'm lining it up so that it's even with the actual cardstock, not with the edge of the plastic, if that makes sense. And then I'm using my punch here just to get that first punch in the right place. So you'll see there's a little bit of clear that hangs off of both the top and the bottom. So it kind of gives a little bit more protection actually to the inside pages that way. And then I'm just going to go down and use that guide and create all of the holes that I need for both the front and the back cover. And now I'm going to add this page back in. And that will be, those are the covers. And so I decided at this point I wanted to create a couple of envelopes. I have this craft cardstock just in my stash, and this one has this beautiful green pattern on it. And so I'm just going to trim these down to 11.5 by 11 inches. This one has a pattern on it, and the other one is just a plain cardstock, just craft cardstock. And again, it's 11.5 by 11 inches. And this is going to create the envelope. So I created these actually on another tutorial that I've done. So I'm not going to go through all of the details here, but on the 11.5 inch side here, I am scoring at 3.5 and I'm scoring at 7.5. And again, I'm using craft paper here, so I'm going to score this a couple of times just to make sure I get a good mark on there. And then I'm going to turn this to the 11-inch side, and I'm going to score at 2 inches, and then I'm going to score again at 9 inches. And that's going to give me all the folds to create my envelope. And I'm going to do that for both of these pages here, again, scoring. And then I'm going to trim the corners down, and I'm just kind of going just to the left or of the score line, just kind of angling it just ever so slightly in as I'm cutting. And what that's going to do is just make it easier to fold. If you just cut them straight across the score line, it just makes it a little bit more difficult when you're trying to fold your envelope. So I'm using my bone folder here and folding all of the creases down really well. And you can see this longer flap is actually going to be the part that I make look like an envelope. You could totally leave this as a square if you wanted to, but I just wanted to have that kind of point. So I'm marking a few different places on this envelope. So I'm from the fold up, I'm marking 1 inch. And then along the long side, I marked at 3 inches, 3.5 inches, and at 4 inches, and just put a little pencil mark there. So what I'm going to do is from the 1 inch mark up to that first line that I drew with my pencil. This was basically the 4 inch mark down to the 1 inch mark, and then I cut that off. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. And this is just going to create that kind of triangle piece that is traditional for an envelope. Again, you don't have to use these exact dimensions. Even you could do less of an angle, or, just however you want to do it. This is just, I just wanted to do it this way so that I would have like that triangle. And then I have that mark at 3.5, which is the direct center of this page. And so that's where I made my first punch, and then I'm going to make the rest of the punches based off of that. So I went from the middle down, and then basically you can just flip it over and it will line up again perfectly. You just go from now the middle to the other end. And that will give me all of the punches that I need, all the holes for my little envelope here. And I'll just do that to the other one as well. So this one you can see is the one that is just craft on both sides, and then the other one is the one that has the green on the inside. I'm just gonna make sure everything's folded down, and I'm using my bone folder, especially on this one because this paper is really, really thick. The printed one is actually not as thick, which is strange, but anyway. So I'm just gonna kind of pop these in here randomly, and then, like I said, they might get moved around as I get to working in this book, but I just kind of have everything kind of set up. So I'm going to do a really quick flip through here. You can see I have the pages, the glassine envelope, here's the craft envelope, and I can open that up. I may actually use this to do a page, like a day's work, but I haven't really decided. And then here's the vellum envelope. I had a couple little coin envelopes I added in here as well. Here's that other envelope with the green on the inside, and then the rest of my pages. So, and then I also added a craft journaling card in there. I may add some more of those too. Like I said, it's probably going to get bigger as I'm working through here. But anyway, if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. That just helps other people find my channel. And subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, bye-bye.